when you're doing something in another language, what do you think are the biggest mistakes that you make when you're trying to think in your first language, but then communicate in another language?
So I think we make a lot of mistakes, but since I have to I have to focus on two. Here are my two main ones. First, when we try to translate the literal meaning of a word, that would be a mistake. We have to aim to translate the meaning of a word, a collocation, phrase, and sentence, and we don't simply substitute words. Machines do that. Like translating literally word for word is a mistake we very often fall into. And number two, so I was taught, so this is the school of thought that I'm adhering to. I was taught to never translate names of people, names of places, names of companies, right? So there are different schools of thought on that one, and some translate names at their own peril. However, translating names is dangerous because, for instance, my name, Svetla, means light in English. If I were to translate it in French, that would be lumière or clair, right? And if we translate names every time, it would be very confusing in the long run. Not to say that translating some names would be just funny. For example, if we translate literally the name of the French poet Jean de La Fontaine, it will come out something like Jean of the Fountain. What the heck does that mean? Who is this person, right? So it's very confusing. I was taught never to translate names. Now, of course, there are exceptions. For example, organizations, international organizations that operate across several languages, such as NATO, or the European Union, or the African Union. They have their names officially translated in several languages that it is okay for us to use, right? So as translators, we have to use our best judgment, think and adapt accordingly.
All right, that's some good advice. Abby, how about you? What do you agree with Svetla? Do you see any other big mistakes people make?
Well, I would say beware of syntax, because when you're thinking in your own language, especially Romance languages, you're going to say things backwards, and it can be really funny. And at a certain point because of sentence structure, you can become completely incomprehensible. When you're translating orally, your best bet is to finish your idea and not try to keep up with the person speaking, because what happens is you have lots of beginning sentences and no endings, and so no one can follow your ideas. And then the trickiest thing of all, and I'm sure Svetla and you agree with me, the trickiest thing of all is translating jokes. Humor is very different. So it's not only a translation, but it's an act of cultural comprehension. And as Svetla said so well, we're translating ideas, thoughts, and feelings, not words. And my very simple example of that is in Romance language, you have the subjunctive tense. In English, you do not. The subjunctive tense softens what you request from a person. In English, you do not have that. So you have to use, for example, the conditional or some other form to make your speech softer and not an order or command.
Translating, interpreting, speaking another language is creating comprehension, understanding, and it's communicating the soul. It's not communicating words.